Hello, I'm Professor Larry Louie, and this is our first session on accounting. And I hope you had a chance to look at the welcome video. If not, you can look at it before we have class next week. But today I'm going to cover our three main topics of an intro to the course, secondly, what we call Module 1, which is equivalent to a chapter, so Chapter 1 from the book, and Chapter 2, or Module 2, from the book. And I'll chop them into bite-sized pieces so that no one video is too long. So you can sit and binge watch the entire set of videos or watch as many as you'd like. So first we'll start with the comic strip here, and what you see is a boss looking at the chart and looking very happy. And you see the person presenting hiding something. And what is being presented is this nice chart going up, as in customer service is improving. What he's hiding is that profits are going down. And this is kind of indicative of what I'd like you to be able to do, is to be able to look at information and gather your own analysis and make your own conclusions, not just accept at face value what somebody might be presenting you. All right, so let's jump into the material. First, here's Larry Louie on one page. I packed the page because there are many miles traveled. That's just another way to say I'm old. And my professional background from 1976 to 2001, I was in industry. I worked first at KPMG as a CPA, doing mostly audit work, a little bit of consulting, but mostly audit. Second, I went to business school and then joined Bain & Company after graduation. It's a large strategy firm, and I did strategic consulting with Bain. And then after that, I never worked for a large company again. I was in many small and medium-sized companies, serving in capacities like CFO, COO, and CEO once. And these are small companies, so it's not exactly Fortune 500. But I love private business, growth businesses, and so I've spent my entire career in that. And as far as industries, I like growth businesses, could be internet, could be software. And I also like real estate. It's something that is kind of in my blood. Everyone in my family loves real estate, so do I. My teaching started in 2001, and I started at University of San Francisco, and I taught there and loved it. Similar topic, I taught there accounting, finance, and entrepreneurship. In 2010, when HELP was opening, I was brought aboard, kind of moonlighting on my job at USF as a part-time professor, and I loved it from my very first module in 2010. So I came aboard full-time in spring of 2011 as associate dean, became dean for a few years, and then back to teaching over the last 3 years. My educational background, I was born and raised in San Francisco. My undergrad was across the bay at Berkeley, at UC Berkeley, where I had a double major of accounting and finance. And then my grad degree was also down the hill, so to speak, to Stanford. And I got my MBA there in general management. But I took every single small business class and every single real estate class. I'm currently involved in a social business, and we can talk about that more when we're together in class or in office hours. But I'm helping launch a startup in Mexico called Red Cancero, and our goal is to provide connectivity to the poor in Mexico through internet connectivity from cellular phones and home wireless modems. As far as community service, I love volleyball. I played it, I coached it, and I enjoy watching it. And my daughters were in grade school. I started coaching them. And even after they graduated, I kept coaching. So I like teaching the sport I love to young girls in this case, because boys don't play much volleyball in Northern California anyway. And so I've taught volleyball for many years. So as far as my other interests, as you can see from the apron, from some volunteer work I've done, I was on the board of directors of La Cocina, which is a food business incubator, mostly for low-income women. I sat on the board for several years. Professionally, I have interests in entrepreneurship and have my entire career. And more recently, social business, microfinance, and education technology. As far as my personal interests, I love sports. I like spectator sports like basketball, baseball, football. You'll come to find that everyone's crazy about the Warriors basketball team right now because they're such a great team and fun to watch and play basketball in a great way. And I didn't put golf there because I'm so bad at it. I didn't want to put it there, but I love playing golf. Not well, but I love playing golf. And I'm a foodie. I love cooking. I love eating good food. I like trying new things. And finally, I like travel. I've been to many parts of the world, and always enjoy talking to students about where their hometowns are or home countries are, because I'm adding to my bucket list. All right, so our goal is financial literacy plus. Notice I didn't say accounting. This is an accounting class, no mistake about it. But I'm not turning you into accountants. I want you to be able to look at financial statements and analyze and really understand them. You cannot really do that unless you know how the numbers got there in the first place. That's why we study accounting. Not to be accountants, but to understand what is good about accounting and what is not so good about accounting. And there are both. And we'll look at each of those as we come across different accounts, different treatment of accounting. It's pretty complicated, and that's why it occupies our 10 weeks. But without understanding how the numbers got there, how can you interpret them? Right? It's not possible. All right, so we're going to understand procedures so that you have a respect for the process. When you're in a big company, you can be part of that process. So the more you can be conversant, the more credible you'll be as a manager inside of a company. And statements. We're all going to be looking at statements, whether those are for our company or when we are investors, we'll look at financial statements for companies hoping to gain some of our investment money. And so you look at it both as your core career and also in your investment life. And the main thing is to gain insights, to not be fooled by numbers. All right, so how are we going to do this? First, we're going to look at financial accounting, and most of our time will be in financial accounting. And think of it as financial statements for an external audience, external to the company. This could be investors, it could be regulators, it could be the SEC if we are a publicly traded company. And these are under what we call GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. And these are the rules by which accounting works. And there are rules. It may seem like it Wild West sometimes, but there are accounting rules that must be followed. Secondly, we'll look at procedures and practices, again, so you understand how things work. So when you're in a company, you can relate well with budgeting processes and reporting cycles and not be bewildered by all this. It's not really bewildering. You just have to learn it. That's what we're going to do, this module. Third is look at financial statements. There are only 4. You can think of any company, and they have 4, what we call the 4 basic financial statements. We'll cover those today in our session videos. And then we'll look at analysis. We're going to do a lot of analysis because the main objective is us to be able to look at statements, look at the accompanying notes, and be able to discern how well the company is doing, what are some of the weaknesses, strengths, etc. So we'll be doing that throughout this module. Next, we're going to cover managerial accounting. We're going to do this just over the last few weeks of the course, and it's technically a different body of knowledge. Accounting for inside use, which is managerial, is quite different from accounting for external use. It's not that we have 2 different sets of books. It's just that the things that we do internally require a lot of very confidential information, and we have different objectives in mind when we're running the business. And so we're going to spend a few weeks with some of the main topics related to how do we use information as an insider, as a manager. So that's what we're going to be doing for, I'd say, after Thanksgiving. All right, our course design. So I've done, over the last few years, successfully what we call flipping the classroom. What I want to get at flipping is a traditional classroom is we would not meet like this. We would meet in person, and I would do a lecture. I talk, you listen. I flip through PowerPoints, you take notes, and hopefully digest it. Then we do a few problems in our time together, and then afterwards, you're given homework, and then you're struggling. How do I do that? Right? That's kind of the typical way courses are taught. My guess is most of your undergrad experience was in this way. Flipping the classroom is that we're doing what we're doing right now. I do my lectures on video. You could watch it at your leisure. You can review it. You can save it, whatever you want, but it's for your knowledge. That means that when we're in class, we get to work together. So rather than me lecturing in class, I'll do very little, if any, lecturing in a typical class. We're going to spend time working on problems, answering questions about the material, working problems, doing examples, and that's a far better way to learn. And it's been quite successful over the last few years, and I'm still improving too, of course, and I'll be asking you to help me help you, right? So that's what we're going to do. And flipping means that we lecture before you come to class. You come to class and we do the work together, and then we repeat that afterwards. So at a maximum, what you would do is watch the videos, read the book, look at these concept videos, and then practice the problems in workshop and afterwards. And minimum is watch the videos, skim the chapter just to highlight things that you didn't fully get from my lectures, or you want to go deeper. I don't always go to every level in a particular chapter. I cover what I consider most important. And then review the class after our workshops and get ready for our quizzes. But that's what we have to do. But the main thing is don't fall behind. It is impossible to cram accounting. It doesn't matter who you are. So please stay up with the videos. Watch the videos before you come to class, because frankly, if you don't watch the videos, you're going to drift through class. And it's just kind of a waste of your 3 hours. So don't do it. Watch the videos, then come to class. As far as assurance of learning, that's what we call in academia grading, right? So we have 3 criteria for grading in this course. The first, and the true test, is the final exam, which is a financial analysis of a company that I will choose, and you'll have 3 hours to do analysis of the company, and I will be able to test all the things we teach in this course, or the main things we teach in this course, using that as the vehicle. It's worth 45% of the course grade. So a lot of the work we do prior to the final is learning, so that you can show yourself and me that you've mastered the material. We'll have the final exam the week of December 12th, and ours is on Wednesday the 14th. The team financial analysis presentation is worth a good chunk, 35%, and that will be during a kind of a split session in session number 6. Weekly quizzes are worth 20%, and these are really just to validate that we're tracking. It's a way for me to know if my material is being digested by students. If not, then I will slow down my teaching or go backwards if need be to make sure we build on a solid foundation. One thing about accounting and other classes, especially technical ones, if you don't get the foundation, it's no value to go further. So you need to keep building as if you're building a house. Build a good foundation, build good floors, build good walls, build the next floor, put on the roof, etc. And that's kind of what we're doing here. Most of the grading is individual based. So although we love teamwork, and teams are a great way to learn and help others learn, the assessment of this is going to be similar to like your job. You know, you're going to be working in teams, but ultimately your success is based on your output. So this is pretty much like that. Your assessment is going to be primarily driven by your individual performance, specifically in the final exam. Don't panic. If you follow along during the 10 weeks, you'll be fine in the final. BYOB might mean different things to different people, but here, success at Halt generally, and I would say even beyond that, is that you're your own boss. No one should tell you what to do. We can suggest, we could recommend, we could even provide incentives, but in the end, you're in charge of your learning. You're in charge of your journey. You're in charge of your career. So what that means is have a growth mindset. You probably have heard that quite a bit in your immersion. Second is be prepared. Don't cram. I mentioned that at least twice already. Third is be on time. We have policies against it. So if you're late, you can't even come in until break, which is a waste of time. So don't do that. Just come a couple minutes early, and at latest, be on time. Don't be late, because we follow these rules very strictly. It's quite different from other schools in the United States and perhaps elsewhere, but it's how we run the school. So that's not something I have any flexibility, nor do you. So come on time. Next is don't miss more than 20% of classes. Again, this is Halt policy. You miss more than 20% and you will get an F. You will fail the course. Next, participate. This is your safe zone to play. It's a playground. This whole year is a playground, and you don't have many opportunities like that in life. So it's okay to ask a stupid question, or to argue a point that you're not sure of, or to challenge someone or solicit feedback. It's okay, because we're only here to learn. Learn the material, learn how to work in teams, learn how to be a professional. And that's what we need to do. So treat this year as a gift that you have given yourself to learn and develop professional skills. Next, we'll look at taking charge of your education by use of our classroom dynamics. So when you're in class, be respectful, be engaged, and be supportive. This is going to serve you well, not only in your learning, but in developing relationships with your classmates. It is true that in my career, every single job has been through a referral, because when I work hard and I deliver with, I hope, and I think, good attitude around my work. If you show that in the classroom, and now you're all graduated and you're a few years down the road, and someone needs some of your specific skills or background, they're not going to hesitate contacting you. Say, hey, remember me? We went to Holt together, class of 2019. We need someone just like you. Like, how do you get to that position? You get to that position because while you're together, you're doing things where people want to work with you and want to help you. So being engaged in class and being a positive member of your classroom is critical for many, many things, and not the least of which is your career, but mainly is to forge real relationships with your peers. Computers could be a tool or a major distraction. I don't want to play cop walking around the room, watching if you're shopping on Amazon, doing a Facebook post, or watching Instagrams. I don't want to do that. No, and I don't think your classmates who are next to you want to watch you watching Instagram or doing Facebook posts. So if you have a computer up, use it for what we're doing in class. You have plenty of time outside of our time together to do all those social media things, all right? Next is, by policy, we have no mobile phones in class because there's probably no good learning purpose as far as the course is concerned with the mobile phone. So if you can't even resist the temptation with the phone in your pocket, put it in your backpack and just be silent, be untethered for those 3 hours we are together. And grades, we have gone to or back to a 4.0 scale where we have A, B, C, D, F. That may or may not be similar to undergrad experience, but that's kind of how we work right now. And what we found is, and what I found is that employers rarely ask for grades. I used to say employers never ask for grades, but I've now been educated that's not true. It is true that I've never been asked for my transcript by any employer. But we know that employers are typically more familiar, particularly in the US, with a 4.0 kind of A, B, C, D, F scale. So we've complied with that. So I wouldn't freak out about grades. I wouldn't get low grades. I think anything below a C is quite damning. So keep up, and you should be able to do well at Holt. And we're here not to weed people out. We're here to make all people grow and succeed. Right? So that's our attitude. Additional resources. I'm available to discuss everything with you. Part of the reason I gave my full background is if there are some things that I can do to help you, I'm happy to do that with your career or with anything else, like what restaurants to eat at San Francisco. We could do that. Office hours, I meet during the lunch hours on my days on campus, Mondays and Wednesday. But I'm very happy to come to campus even if I don't have meetings to meet with students. So feel free if that hour is not convenient for you to reach out either after class or by email, and we'll set something up. Individual appointments are available, and team, right? So we can do that, particularly when it comes time for the team project. I like to meet with teams to make sure they're tracking so that they don't get lost or spin their wheels. So I'm happy to help people with their projects. And my email. So there is an email capability on my courses. Some professors like that, but I prefer my regular email, which is at larry.louie@faculty.holt.edu. And I happen to have two emails. I also have one, larry.louie@holt.edu. So either with the faculty or without the faculty extension works for me. Digital library, you probably have seen some of this in immersion, and we're going to see if you remembered it. We're going to be doing a financial analysis project where you would need to access information. We have 3 databases that your tuition dollars help pay for that are particularly useful for the project. One is Mergent. This is a very easy way to download financial data. Download not even as a PDF, so you could read 100 pages, if you will, of a financial statement, but you can download into an Excel spreadsheet the financial statements of companies, and that's why it's so valuable. Next, we have ProQuest, which is a very powerful literature search engine. We all love Google. Google is great for searching, but it cannot hold a candle to ProQuest when it comes to getting full articles that are proprietary. Google only accesses publicly available data. If it's subscription-based, they cannot get it. So you can use Google because we all do. I do every day. But when it comes time for your research, you use ProQuest. Next and last is Wall Street Journal. I use Wall Street Journal in every class. You'll see one in each of our workshops because I want to use our time together to tie what you're learning at Holt, whether it's specifically my class, which is ideal, or just generally about business, on things that are interesting, to keep connecting you with what you're learning in my class and others with what's happening in the world today, the business world. So Wall Street Journal is very powerful for your project and generally, just to come up to speed with the language of business and how industries are happening right now. In summary, I want you to have no fear. You can conquer accounting. Some of you have accounting background. Many people come to Hult with accounting undergrads or business undergrads, and they would have had accounting. So if you're one of those people, you're going to be popular among your classmates here to help them out. But if you don't have accounting, don't worry about it. I assume people have zero accounting, which means for those who have had it, it might be a bit repetitive or a bit of review. I hope we teach you things about how to analyze and interpret financials. That's something that we can always get better in, but not maybe the rules of accounting. But for if you've never touched accounting, you have to work a little harder, but you'll get it, because I'm gearing my lectures and my workshops to the people that have never seen accounting. What I want you to do as far as kind of suggestions is develop a rhythm. Be steady, effective, and efficient. If you're tired, go to sleep. If you're got a big weekend ahead, plan your time so you can mix some business or studying with pleasure. Next is a combination of individual and teamwork is best. The group cannot read in a room together. That's just not good use of time. So reading is best done by yourself or quietly maybe in a room. And then use the time together to be discussing and working on things that you can only do in a team. That's what team meetings are for, not group reading sessions. So that's my suggestion. Videos will make learning much more efficient and effective. When you're preparing for workshops, videos are essential. If you're preparing for a final exam, it's going to be very useful for a review. If you forgot about a specific item when you're doing your project, you can just go to that video and see what it contained. And be engaged in class. I've already covered that sufficiently. And then don't be bashful and ask for help. All right. So that's where we are right now as far as the course and how it's designed. And we will now jump into Module 1.